Warning: the following content is satire and is for comedic purposes only. Any comments, past or present, do not represent our values. Some viewers may find the following offensive. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to True North Network. Today, we're starting a new segment. I don't really know what to call it yet. I don't have an official name for it. So, between the posts with True North Network. I don't know.
Just shooting from the hip.
Yeah. Today, I am joined by a new guest that you haven't seen before on the channel. However, if you've listened and watched mainly every episode that we've put out, you probably would have heard his band, Aim for Theo. So if you guys enjoy that type of music, maybe go give them a listen. I always tag you guys in the videos anyways. So
Shameless plugs.
yeah. But you know, we share quite a few interests, including hockey, which is what this segment is mainly going to focus on. We might dive off on some other stuff, but
And DNA, too.
yes, we do have that in common, yes. I mean, we're starting pretty late in the season. I didn't really plan for this segment to start at the beginning of the season, which probably would have been better, but it wasn't really on the radar yet. So I thought we could just kind of jump in on the season so far. What are your thoughts on, in general, or for Colorado? Because I don't know if you guys can tell if you're watching the video, but my brother is a Colorado fan, and he's been a Colorado fan longer than I've been alive.
Yes, I started out as a Nordiques fan and kind of just followed them to Denver. So I've been a fan ever since they've been the Colorado Avalanche. Also, brief segue. Hi, I'm Cody.
Yes.
You failed to introduce me,
Well,
but that's
I
fine.
I was getting there.
Yeah. So this season's kind of weird.
Mm.
Goaltending seems to have been all over the map. I mean, goaltending in general is just voodoo, but this year it seems to the real extremes. There's a couple of people that are still high performing. Connor Hellebuck, still really good. Swayman doing good. But a lot of goalies' numbers are down, and scoring seems to be taking a significant leap up even over last year, and it seems to be the trend over the last couple of years, and it just kind of keeps going. And it's hard to believe that like these are the amount of goals the teams are scoring, and the amount of players that are like point per game seems kind of like back in the 80s era type of hockey.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Nathan MacKinnon, holy shit. I don't know what else to say but that, because like I knew he was always really good, but like he's stormed this season.
Yeah, Nathan MacKinnon is just a beast. I think he does a lot of things good that other high-end players do, but he does also a lot of things that aren't really associated with flashy or high-skill players, maybe outside of Ovechkin. He's really just like a really strong. He's a bulldog. He will go and chase the pucks. He will hit guys. He's intense. If you read or listen to interviews of current teammates or past teammates, they will always say like how intense he is. And he's with Landeskog out this season, he's kind of just driving that bus, and everybody is kind of following his example, and he's just giving 110%.
I mean, I don't know if it's the way that he kind of leads the dressing room, but I feel like a lot of it is, you know, if you're not in it to win it, don't bother here. He's got a no bullshit kind of attitude.
He is pretty renowned for the Colorado fan base that follow pretty closely. You hear things and see things at practice. Like he will yell at people at practice if they give him a bad pass. He will snap sticks in practices, and he just goes like it's just all the way on or all the way off with that guy. And he is this season just all the way on.
Yeah, I feel like Colorado's got that kind of superstar. That's been something that's been brought up with the Jets. Um, I follow the Jets. Hello, everyone. I've talked about them on the podcast before, so I'm sure some people know that. But the question was raised: Winnipeg's doing really good this season, but they don't have anyone putting up the goals, and I feel like it's becoming more apparent because lately they are struggling to get goals.
I think I don't know. To me, I don't think it's just the goal scoring, right? Nathan McKinnon, I mean, he's putting up goals and he's done good for himself, but he is very often
Mm,
outscored by Mikko Rantanen on the team. I think the thing that the Winnipeg Jets are missing is a game breaker. Outside of Connor Hollebrook, who will steal you guys games, you guys don't have a forward or a D man that is just a pure game breaker. And
yeah.
I'm very fortunate because Colorado has three of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially now Morrissey's out. I mean, he's kind of, from what I've seen throughout the season, he's taken on a lot of leadership in himself, and he's really pulled the D line together. Um, but now that he's out, it feels almost like there's so many pieces that are there that there's potential for, but right now some experience would be nice.
Yeah, I think you guys really lack I say you guys like you play for the team.
Yes, yes.
I think Winnipeg really lacks defensive depth.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you got like Norrisy, as I will forever call him now. I like that guy's gonna win a Norris in his career. I'm sure of it. He's a legit number one D on most NHL teams,
Mm-hmm.
not Colorado, but most of them. And he's great. And then who's next in line? Like Pionk is pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who else is playing in that D core? I don't think you'd find the top four is a top four on every NHL team in the league.
Yeah, no.
And I think Morrissey's doing that heavy lifting. But I think he got decent depth.
Mm-hmm.
And I have long said this to one of my other friends who's a Jets fan, is I think Winnipeg has some of the best wing depth in the league from top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
They got some really good pieces and some really good players. Connor is excellent. Ealer is excellent. Even on the bottom six, you guys got some excellent wingers, but the
Mm-hmm.
center depth is really
Oh,
hurting you guys.
oh yeah, I know. When they moved Dominic Toninato up to second line center and Lowry was on the third line center when Scheifele got hurt, I physically cringed when I saw that. I was like,
That dude played for Colorado. Like I've seen that dude. He's a hard fourth line C in betweener AHL
yeah,
NHL guy.
yeah,
That's a guy you want like 13 or 14 on your depth chart.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, when and like it's been evident that there's been some struggles since Scheifele got hurt, and I don't know. They still haven't even announced what the hell's wrong with him. It's still day to day unknown. So I have no idea when he's gonna be back.
Bro, don't even get me started. Colorado is like the worst for that. Everything, it's day to day, it's upper body. Like
Yeah,
they don't tell you anything, so you never do know. I think in Canada, there's just like a different culture and expectation with the media hype around it. They kind of do give that information out, but yeah,
yeah,
it's a little weird that the Jets haven't said something about it.
yeah,
It's probably one of those weird injuries, like an oblique injury or like some sort of muscle injury, where it's just like the timeline's so hard to predict.
yeah. And it didn't seem like anything happened on the play like after he left or just before he left there, but it could have been anything. So hopefully he comes back soon. Uh, The Jets have kind of taken a little dive the last few games. Like I said, I've noticed they've struggled to score. Those two games against Toronto were pretty painful to watch. I think I watched the first one. I didn't seem to no, I don't think I caught the second one. I think I was busy that day. But the first one I watched, they did pretty decently, but I didn't see the drive. It wasn't there. They weren't pushing as hard. They were pushing harder near the end of the game, but by then it was too late.
I think that was a home and home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Colorado had just played Toronto a few days before that, and they came back on Toronto and won that game. And I think Toronto was kind of on the skid. So I think they're part of the recipe there, I think, is that Toronto was due for one,
Mm-hmm.
right? So getting that on a home and home probably wasn't the greatest situation the Jets could have asked for.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I mean, Toronto has, right? They have the big four. They have two real good centers, and who are they going up on the Jets in those two games? Who's shutting down those guys? Who is outplaying them on their first line? Like that's a tough match out. And for me, I watched the replay of that second game, and it just looked like they were trying to win a 2-1 hockey game, which Bowness is kind of known for back in his Dallas days.
Mm-hmm.
This Jets team is not built for that type of hockey.
No. No, I you know what, I hate it because the season Samsonov had for Toronto was just sad to see. Like you don't want to see a goalie go through that shit, and you saw that in Edmonton as well. And I'm happy for Samsonov, but it, why? You know?
Yeah, like that. I am not happy about Samsonov's play overall because I picked him in my hockey pool. Awful choice. Dude's rocking in the AHL.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, that guy's proven that he can play,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's been inconsistent. That's why he found himself on his way out of Washington.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Jets had a real opportunity to light that guy up early and shake what I imagine is probably a pretty shaky confidence out of him in
Mm-hmm.
net. And they did not.
No.
They let Toronto dictate a lot of that play,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of laid back. And as we've established, like I just don't think the Jets have the decor to
Yeah.
be able to play that type of game.
Yeah, and I mean this is their best season since they've been, back from Atlanta, and I'm not gonna go here and be like, yeah, they're gonna win the cup this year. I don't foresee it. I think they have a lot of pieces right now that can shoot towards success, because at the end of the day, what are they gonna do? They're gonna try and push for a cup while they still have Scheifele and Hallebuck. You have to. You just signed them for 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you sign those dudes for 7 years in the offseason for the contracts you gave them
Yeah.
on the hopes of just being mediocre, or as what I will call the Calgary zone.
Yeah.
Just being mediocre forever, not being bad enough to get better, and not being good enough to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the Jets are in that area. Now, let's say like 10 years ago, they had a great team. Like the Jets were something to be feared, and it came from the back end out, and they didn't have, again, the game breaker up front. Now they have a really good forward core.
Yeah.
Minus some center depth issue, and their D is not as good. And I still don't think they have a game breaker, but I think that the management group in Winnipeg is not going to waste this season. I expect they'll probably do some pretty big things at the deadline. I'm actually surprised that they were not in on the Elias Lindholm train.
Yeah, I was following that. That was a crazy deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm glad for Jets fans that they didn't get on in that deal, because my God, if you're a Vancouver's fan, you better hope that guy resigns, because that's a boatload for a guy to play 22 games for you and maybe some playoff games.
Well, I figure, if they don't get a deal out of it, they basically traded away their future for this. So
yeah, I mean, they gave
Hopefully
up a
works
lot,
out.
and hopefully they don't start rioting again when they lose in the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh God, I can foresee it now. The Jets have also added, obviously it's late in the season, but they've also added great additions since getting rid of PLD, who I just can't stand. Um, Velarde is, I mean, he's had a really good season, and him alone would have been worth that trade.
I thought that at the time. I was like, what the hell are the Kings doing? I have a friend that who is a Kings fan, and I remember like specifically going up to him and I was like, what the hell is Rob Blake doing? Like, why did he give up all those assets? And the Kings fan, he was not thrilled with the deal,
Mm-hmm.
but he liked that they were trying to be aggressive to attack that 2C position with PLD. And so they have a lot of depth and they had a lot of salary problems that were going to start rearing their heads. So he said it's a good use of consolidating assets. And I don't see that. PLD was inconsistent. He found himself on the way out of Columbus. He found
Mm-hmm.
himself on the way out of Winnipeg. He was good in Winnipeg, but he wasn't
Yeah.
incredible.
He wasn't
Uh,
as good as it was all made out to be, and I feel like that's every deal he signed.
yeah, I mean, lucky Winnipeg, right? They ended up on the right
Yeah.
side of two trades. Cause Line A for PLD in the first place, I think
Mm-hmm.
worked out for them, and this trade to the Kings, like it's like you said, the Velarde trade alone, that would have been a good trade. I thought that was a good trade
Yeah.
without seeing Iafalio, great player. I think you guys got some picks in there.
Yeah.
How do you not? How do you not like that? And as Winnipeg has struggled to keep like star talent that just doesn't want to be there, to be able to get a haul like that is just good management. And I mean, if Iafalio doesn't want to sign long term, like he's a good trade deadline. When Colorado went on their cup run there and they got Lehkonen, Iafalio was actually like the guy I wanted them to go after if they couldn't get Lehkonen. So I thought it was a couple picks. It's actually Rasmus Kupari and a
Mm-hmm.
second rounder. Montreal's second rounder, so that's a high second round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, hindsight's 2020, but Dubois has been playing games on the fourth line for the Kings. That dude signed for 8 years at $8 million.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah, if you're the Kings, you're
I think the trade between the Flames and Vancouver has the chance to be the same sort of lopsidedness in a very short amount of time. I like Lindholm. I think he's great.
mm-hmm.
And he's a good 2C, maybe a bottom and
Yeah.
1C, but I mean, he needs a supporting cast around him. He showed it in Calgary once they kind of Goudreau left and they traded Kachuk, like his numbers went down. He's still excellently
Mm-hmm.
defensively, but like somebody's going to overpay for that dude. And if it's Vancouver, they're going to overpay for that dude. And they overpaid for him to get him on their cup run. And I
Yeah.
don't know. Are they for real? Maybe. I mean, they do have some star power, but like,
Mm-hmm.
where were they last year? Where were they year before? What's changed? Not a lot, right? I mean, you do get
Yeah.
another year growth. It happened to Colorado. They were the worst team in the league,
Mm-hmm.
and they started getting better. But they made a lot of moves before they made any sort of sound in the playoffs. And
Well, and I think
it's a big gamble.
I think Colorado's also still riding a bit of that high because, like, obviously they had to get rid of some assets after the cup, but I mean, this year has proven
Not
that
really.
they're no
They let Burakovsky walk, and like
Kadri.
that was it. Yeah, Kadri was a big one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess Kadri hurts, but like
Yeah.
they've managed to keep everybody else.
Yeah. So, like, if you build it like that, and that's, I guess, if Lindholm does sign for an extended period of time, which is what you would hope, then hopefully they can carry that on and not just be dog shit again. Because like we said, they sold a lot to get this going. So if they don't get it this year, then what was it for?
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Vancouver Canucks, you hope that works out for you, and this could be a deal that works out for both teams. It doesn't happen very often,
Mm-hmm.
but they have some players to resign next year, not including trying to get Lindholm to resign it. I don't know. They probably have the money actually with Myers' deal ending. That's $6 million, so they probably will get some sort of deal with that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But like Philip Roenick, like he's an RFA. He's making 4.4 this year, and he's put on quite the year. Like they're gonna have to pay that dude because if they don't, somebody will, right?
Mhm.
And their top pairing looks great. Their middle pairing, I don't know. Nikita Zadorov, like that dude played for Colorado. I've seen his limitations on screen. He's a big dude,
Mhm.
but he makes stupid mistakes. Carson Soucy is okay, but like that doesn't look like a Stanley Cup caliber defense to me.
No, and I figure that's probably what it's. I mean, a lot of it's going to come down to it because, like you said, scoring's been up. We have more superstars now, I think, than playing at the same time. Maybe not as high scoring because everyone could score a billion goals in the 80s. Um, but like we have some of the highest caliber talent going on right now, and records are being broken.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the scoring charts right now.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the list. Like, you know how many of those guys are going to end up in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Like a ton of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I hear about it all the time. Again, being Colorado fan, like the Quinn Hughes versus Kale McCarr, the Adam
Yeah.
Fox versus Kale McCarr.
Yeah.
Like the fact that those guys, biased opinion, but the numbers also support it. I think Kale McCarr is better than those dudes. How much better? Probably not a lot. Like those guys are real good, and they're like it's happening all the time. Quinn
Mm-hmm.
Hughes is breaking these records, and
Yeah.
then Kale McCarr breaks them like a week later.
Yeah.
But like the fact that they're being broken by like two
Mm-hmm.
defensemen back to back every week, they're breaking some kind of
Yeah.
record or like placing in top 10 of all times
Mm-hmm.
per games played is insane. Like both of those dudes, I think, are in the top 20 of scoring in the NHL. Like those guys keep going; they're future Hall of Famers, and the
Yeah.
rest of the guys on those lists, like McDavid, Draisaitl, I think Rantanen has the ability,
Mm-hmm.
McKinnon, Kucherov, like those guys are all going to the Hall.
Yeah.
And just to watch them play and like
Mm-hmm.
the scoring races that we're into is kind of absurd.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking like 150 to, mm, I mean, possibly even more points a season for some of these players. Uh I I guess it's just weird for me cuz like I didn't grow up watching, the players in the 80s. I wasn't alive. So it's cool that it is happening now where I'm kind of in my prime minus the dislocated knee. Um so it's cool to be able to experience all this and see the amazing talent that these players have. Um, I mean, you got to be pretty good to get in the NHL, but these players are setting a completely different caliber of talent.
Yeah, Jamie Benn in 2015 won the Art Ross and he put up 87 points and he won the fucking scoring title.
Yeah.
You look at the last couple of years, like what was it, like 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, McDavid put up like 160 plus points.
Mm-hmm.
Like this year, you look at the Kucherov, McKinnon scoring race, those dudes continue at this clip. They're going to finish with 140, 150 points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a different NHL.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've changed some rules for the better. They're calling more hand slashes, more tripping, more aggressive on the type of plays that stop skill players.
Yeah.
And this is the era of the mobile defenseman, right? Defensemen are now a real offensive weapon,
Mm-hmm.
like they've never really been in the modern NHL. And I think that contributes to a lot of the goal scoring.
Yeah.
I mean, plus they're just like these guys are now professional athletes. They always were, but like you would hear stories about like players chugging beers and having cigarettes and stuff
Yeah.
in between the breaks, and like these guys take care of themselves all year long, not
Mm-hmm.
just during the regular season. You look at the guys that are at the tip top, they take care of themselves, like Nathan McKinnon's and even Matt Duchene when he was with Colorado was following like all sorts of specialized diets and stuff. Like those
Yeah.
guys don't fuck around anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it just shows.
Well, and it starts young too. I mean, look at Connor Bedard. Like there was interviews where he basically said he's never had anything bad ever to eat. Um, And like,
I'll believe that for a goddamn second.
yeah,
As a parent, there was definitely one time when he was like 5 or 6 where they're like, fuck, I just
yeah.
McDonald's.
But like
But maybe
the
not in his
yeah,
teen years. I can believe that.
I feel like it's just speaks to like the passion that these players have for the game, and I think as far as players go, I think hockey probably has some of the most passionate players and fans. Which is a shame because the blackouts and regional broadcasting kind of fucks all of that.
Oh yeah, don't even get me started on the NHL. That's a topic for another day.
We could talk about that in another
I
episode.
could talk about that for hours. My wife doesn't follow hockey. She follows enough to placate me, and I fucking complain about the NHL all the time.
Yes.
It is the best sport in the world and the worst league.
Yes, I mean, we could go in on that and like officiating and all of that.
Yeah, that's certainly another day.
Yeah.
You'll definitely get a heated Cody on that one.
Yeah.
I have some fucking opinions about that.
Yeah. I wanted to pose, what are your playoff predictions?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because like everyone thought Edmonton was out of the race, and then they decided to just keep winning and never lose again.
I don't know. I'd never counted Edmonton out. Like, you can't.
No.
How can you? You have the best player in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, McKinnon's playing a madman, and I think this year he's the best player. And I think the numbers prove that he's the best 5-on-5 player. But McDavid is the best player in the world.
Yeah.
That dude is electric. And Draisaitl is probably number 2 or 3. I think McKinnon's maybe a bit better than him, maybe McCarr. But like, my point is, those two dudes, top 5.
Yeah.
Easy. You guys got talent like that. How the hell can you not at least try and make a run in the playoffs? So all they needed to do was get a goaltender that decided to be somewhat competent,
which is apparently
and it looks
Skinner.
It looks like he figured it out. Like, he had a pretty good year last year, and I was surprised he just started out like shit this year.
Yeah, and nobody, I don't think anyone really thought of Skinner as being your, number one, and then they just had really bad goaltending at the beginning of the season.
That Campbell signing was awful. The moment they made that, I was like, you guys are so stupid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's hard to count them out. But there's teams that are balling this year that I didn't expect. I mean, you've got your bottom teams like San Jose who can't win games.
I mean, San Jose and Blackhawks, everyone knew those guys were going to be at the bottom. Yeah. Arizona too, but the Lightning kind of like in and out of the bubble spot is surprising to me. Now they had to play. Vasilevsky was out, and they're playing JoJo, Jonas Johansson, who played for the Colorado as their number 3 goalie a few years back, and like he's like a hard number 3, and he was their starter goalie, so that probably didn't help them. But they're just really not dominating teams they used to be. I think their window is starting to close.
There's a few older ones on their roster now too, so like, might be time to start thinking about what they can add for the future. Yeah,
I mean, they made a move out this offseason to Colorado. They traded Ross Colton. Colton's been awesome. He's been just what they were looking for in Colorado, and I guarantee Tampa management didn't want to let that guy go, but they couldn't afford to pay him anymore. And they're right up against the cap, and they're not getting any younger. They got to re-sign Stamkos, and they're just not. I thought for sure they'd have another couple of years just being a juggernaut. And the Devils seem to have dropped off. That might have something to do with injuries.
The Caps as well, like Ovi. I don't know what the hell's going on with
what
Ovi.
The fuck happened to Ovi?
That's another record I wanted to talk about, because he's so close to Gretzky's record, and everyone was like, yeah, he's going to do it this year, and
I know a lot of people that don't like Ovi because he's kind of in with Putin and like that sort of stuff. But I personally want to see Ovi break the scoring record for a number of reasons. One of them is like, I think it's exciting when people break records, especially this record. Like, nobody thought it was ever going to be done.
No.
And the other thing is, like, I just don't want to hear about it for the rest of my fucking life if he doesn't do it. And they're like, well, Gretzky has the record, but Ovi would have done it because he had the 2 lockouts and he had the COVID shortened season. And like,
Yeah.
those are great points, but like, do I really want to listen to those caveats every time I
Yeah.
talk hockey? Not really. So I just want to see him beat it.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see him continue to score at the clip he has been the last couple of years and be the only player in NHL history to have 900 goals.
Mm-hmm.
But like at this rate, by the time his contract, if he scores at the rate he scored at this year, by the time his contract's up for renewal, he's going to fall about 23 goals short. That's brutal. You look at when those fucking lockout years happened. The first was his first year.
Mm-hmm.
And like the other one was like right in his prime when he was putting up like 50 fucking goals. Like honestly, looking back, even if he does break the goal scoring record, which I still think he will, like that dude could have smashed 1,000 if it wasn't for the COVID shortened seasons
Mm-hmm.
and the 2 lockouts that he had. He's been very healthy. And shooting percentage is nuts. But I gotta believe that Ovi's gonna pick it up in the back half this year or next year because look at his career average, his shooting percentage, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking garbage. It's one of the lowest it's been in his entire career right now.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's sustainable for that guy, especially when goals are going up and goalies seem to be getting worse.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of goalies just flip-flop from season to season. I mean, like you said before, there's, some that are solid pretty much the whole season, but yeah,
I think
I'd love to see the opportunities there, but I don't foresee it this season? Question mark?
yeah, no, I don't think so.
Unless he starts fucking coming out like a cannon.
He might though. I mean, he's done it before,
Yeah.
right? He has all sorts of goal streaks, and he might in the back half. I mean, he's not going to the All-Star game,
Mm-hmm.
which is rare for that guy. Maybe he takes a break off and rests his old decrepit fucking body up and cuts. I say this, he's the same fucking age as I am, so I know his body's decrepit, but he's just not putting up the numbers. But who knows? A break,
Mm-hmm.
he might come back and he might put up 20 goals in the last couple games. I doubt it, but he might. It's Ovi. I wouldn't count him out. Like that dude in the back couple years of his career, he can just literally be a turret and continue to put points like Jerome McGinley did.
Yeah, just feed him the puck.
Yeah, everybody knows where that guy's gonna shoot from. They have for like fucking 16 years?
Yeah.
Like we all know where that guy's shooting from, and he still scores.
Yeah.
Every time.
Give Ovi the puck.
Yeah. I think also what really hurts them too is not having Backstrom. Like that dude's an amazing playmaker, and like they got Dylan Strome feeding Ovi the puck, and that's just not working out. I mean, looking at Ovi's numbers, his assists are like pretty high, way higher than his goal total. That really hasn't happened in Ovi's career, and I think it shows that he's still a good NHL player, and he just doesn't have the talent around him to get him the puck.
Yeah.
And his shooting percentage has gone through the shitter. So
yeah.
Can we pause for a second?
Yes.
Well, I think at this point it's like the top, I'm gonna call them like 8, 10 are pretty set. Like Boston, Florida, New York, and Carolina out in the East are definitely gonna do it. Toronto is definitely gonna do it. So there's 5 guaranteed and coming out of the East. And coming out of the West, Vancouver, Colorado, Dallas, Winnipeg, the Golden Knights, and the Oilers, I think, are locked to make the playoffs. And I think everybody else is kind of maybe on the fringe. I thought for sure LA, those guys dropped off hard in the last month or so. I think they've only won like 2 games in the last like month, which is they're falling apart pretty quickly.
Last 10 are 3-5-2.
But I expect that like I think the Bruins and Panthers are going to go deep again this year. And I think that's biased opinion. I think Colorado's going to go deep again. I think they're going to make a run in the deadline. I think they're going to address their 2C problem, maybe by picking up a high third center like Henrique and then just rock Colton and Henrique and just have 2 high caliber third line centers do spot duty over the second. So I think they're going to go deep. And I think the Jets are gonna make some noise in the playoffs because even if they don't have the depth, which I think they're gonna address some of that at the trade deadline,
Mm-hmm.
they are just riding a really good season. Confidence is everything
Yeah.
in a game like hockey, and they are just putting pucks in the back of the net for the most part,
Yeah.
and they're finding ways to win games. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing about the playoffs that's interesting is like a goalie can win you a Stanley Cup. Just look at the Blues
Yeah.
the year that Bennington, right? Like
Yeah.
nobody knew what the hell Bennington was, and he played outstanding. He won them a cup,
Yeah.
right? So you have somebody in the back of your net like Hellebuck, you always have a chance to
Mm-hmm.
go deep and go on a run.
Yeah.
So I don't think any of that sort of thing surprising. I guess we'll see if Skinner can hold up to playoff duty.
Mm-hmm.
And for that matter, Georgiev for Colorado too. He's been
Yeah.
wildly inconsistent this year, and they've been able to outscore their problems, but that's not going to continue in the playoffs. It's a whole different game in the playoffs now.
Mm-hmm.
They just swallow their whistles and let people hack the shit out of everybody, and those type of things don't bode well typically for skilled teams.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a battle for the rest of the other spots. I
Yeah.
couldn't even tell you who's going to be there. It's certainly not Calgary. They're in selling mode, so
Yeah. Racist mode.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean the wild card spot for the East, there could be some moves there, potentially. Um,
Yeah, like Philly is now in a playoff spot. Like, when did that happen? Those guys were supposed to be bottom of the league, and they just started winning games and didn't
Yeah.
stop. I don't know.
Yeah, there's been a few cases of like, okay, what the fuck's going on this year? And I mean, I think
Yeah,
I'm honestly happy for the most part. On the outcome of whoever wins, obviously, if the Jets or Colorado or Vancouver win,
I want
I
that fourth cup, man.
I'd prefer that. But I think these playoffs are going to be pretty interesting. Just the dynamics that all these teams have, which, like we said, is kind of set this season apart from other seasons.
Yeah,
You've got
it's also. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say you've got highly offensive teams like Edmonton, and then you've got really really strong defensive teams like Winnipeg. So like these teams are all gonna have their own way that they're gonna push for the cup. So it should be interesting for.
Yeah, I mean, you got teams like Dallas too that'll just grind you to death. Like it's a mixed bag,
Mm-hmm.
and in the playoffs, like just depending on matchups, sometimes you just don't match up well. To some of the teams you get paired up with. It's all sorts of different styles. And
Yeah.
when you get to the finals, the East Coast plays a little different game than the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not seeing some of these teams as often as you would. I
Yeah.
guess thanks to the Batman system, you see your division rivals the first couple rounds. So you see
Yeah.
those guys a ton. But in the deeper playoffs, you don't really know what to expect because you're not really playing those guys. Sometimes you play them maybe once a year or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to really say. The other thing that's a big factor that I think has been weird is like injuries have been pretty, again, the last couple of years, injuries. Man game lost has seemed to be on a trend upwards and a reoccurring theme. At least I feel it definitely as a Colorado fan. The team's like never fucking healthy.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's kind of the thing with most of the teams out there right now,
Mm-hmm.
except for who was it that was like a St. Louis, I think, had like only 5-man games lost. And like, how are you this fucking terrible and you only lost 5-man games?
Yeah.
It's time to rebuild, guys. A trade Colorado Braden Shen.
That's another spot. They're in wild card 2 right now, and like that could go
That's
either
not gonna
way.
last.
No,
way, man.
you've
There's
got
not a fucking
Nashville,
chance.
you've got Seattle, even Arizona that could, catch up to them.
I mean Minnesota maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
They're pretty bad, but
Yeah.
like but St. Louis is they're a bad team, man. If
Mhm.
they make it to the playoffs, they're gonna get absolutely fucking curb stomped. They've had all the luck in the world with the injuries, and they've only managed to what are they in the last wild card spot right now?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like the Central
Yeah.
Division is not very good this year outside of the big three there in Colorado, Dallas, and Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And like those guys are just hanging on. Same amount of points as Nashville. And Nashville is not a good team. Like, and only a couple points ahead of Arizona, and Arizona has a game in hand.
Mm-hmm.
You should not be that close to Arizona. Arizona's an embarrassment.
Mm.
I want to talk about the scoring race.
All right.
McKinnon and Kucherov. I want to talk the Hart conversation.
Okay. Let's talk Hart.
Okay. So this irks me. It's such a biased opinion because I'm such a homer on this one, but everybody seems to be leaning towards McKinnon for the Hart, and I agree. That dude should have won the Hart the year Taylor Hall got it. He came in second. It pissed me off because I was okay with it at the time because he gave it to Taylor Hall. He was more consistent on the road and home, where McKinnon was kind of collecting his points just on the road and not home. And then the narrative around it was like, well, he had Mikko Rantanen, right? And Taylor Hall had nobody. Okay, fine, fair enough. So the next year he goes out and he's again nominated or top 5 or something like that. And was it Connor McDavid won it or Draisaitl won it? And it's like, well, how come that narrative wasn't the same as it was last year? Because McDavid and Draisaitl got each other, right? So it's a little bit frustrating because it seems to be like the moving bar of what's going on. And so finally this year, it seems like McKinnon's kind of carved away from his path. And a lot of the kind of narrative that I see is like, well, Kucherov should win it because he and McKinnon are duking it out. And I'll say a couple of things about the Hart Trophy that I believe should be true. In my opinion, you should not be able to win the Hart Trophy if your team does not qualify for the fucking playoffs.
Yeah.
And the Tampa Bay Lightning at this point are in the playoffs, but they're barely in, and they've been out a couple of times. Kucherov is looking great, and he's a game breaker. He's a future Hall of Famer. But the fucking whining out of Tampa, especially Stamkos going off about like, oh, we're a small market team and blah, blah, blah. He's not getting all the publicity. It's like, dude, Colorado's a small market team. They really are.
I don't see any clips unless I go looking for them of Colorado.
Well, exactly. And they are
like Edmonton clips, Toronto clips, Montreal clips. I see them all the time.
Yeah, I mean, right? Canada is a huge market team for hockey, so they're always going to get like the extra stuff. And the original 6 is always way up there, right? But they are a smaller market. They have a smaller fan base, and they, because of their cup run, and they've become one of the most dynamic teams, and they got like 3 just incredible players that play for them. They've managed to make a bit of a name for themselves. But like the same thing can be said about the Lightning. And my biggest problem with it is Kucherov won the fucking Hart Trophy in 2019. So what the argument is that like they don't get enough media attention, and that's why McKinnon is the favorite for it. It has no fucking legs.
That's like, not part of the criteria.
That dude won the Art Ross, and he won the Ted Lindsay, and he won the Hart Trophy in 2019. How can you say that you're being ignored because you live in a small market? Those guys went fucking back-to-back cups and then made it to the final in the 3rd year, losing to Colorado. But you can't tell me that that's the excuse as to why McKinnon, who also plays in a smaller market team, is the favorite to win. It just kind of fucking pisses me off.
Yeah.
And Colorado's been good enough that they've been able to outscore all their problems. Now, if you look, the one thing I think the Kucherov has going for him is like the next closest player on his team for points is pretty far behind. The same is kind of said about McKinnon and Rantanen, but Rantanen is also in the top 10 in scoring, I think. So that kind of hurts McKinnon's case a little bit if they're doing that thing. But the Canadian media has shown that doesn't fucking matter if you play for the Edmonton Oilers. So hopefully it doesn't matter this year, because I think McKinnon's earned it. That team's been dominant. He's put up the most 5v5 points in this calendar year. and he's put up the most points in this calendar year, not the seasons, but the calendar year. The stats came out last year. He better than McDavid for points. And that dude's an absolute fucking truck on the ice. He's doing things that Kucherov and McDavid aren't gonna do, because he's just an animal.
Yeah. I do wonder if the narrative after the winner's announced, if Kucherov doesn't win, is it going to be like, oh, he didn't have anyone to set him up again, or are they going to blame the media attention?
I think they're gonna blame it. They're gonna be like, "Oh, we have the best player in the world," and blah blah blah. Put that up, and we're in the East, and we're a smaller market, and blah blah blah. But I don't know. It just sounds stupid to me.
It's a stupid argument when media attention is not the criteria to win. You want to be the
Yeah,
most charismatic hockey player and get an award for that? Maybe petition for that, but like that's not what it's about.
yeah. I don't think anybody's blaming or pegging Kucherov as the most charismatic to me. But like, I don't know. I watched that playoff series and when Colorado won them in Game 6, and they had like 30 seconds, 40 seconds still left on the clock, and Kucherov was at the side of the bench screaming and snapping his stick while there was still time to be played in a 2-1 game. So, uh, you know, does he deserve to win it again? I don't think this year. I don't think so. I think it's McKinnon's. It's McKinnon's year. I think he's owed one, and I think he's also played to the level of a Hart Trophy winner. But that's a problem with the NHL. Their trophies are fucking stupid. The Hart Trophy is supposed to be MVP, but like again, it's narrative, right? It's really narrative based, and you can say all you want, and I can sound like a crusty biased fan, but like the reality is McKinnon didn't win it one year because he had Rantanen, and then the next year that fucking caveat didn't matter. And then you got trophies like the Vezina Trophy, that seem to sometimes are right and sometimes are not. And then you got the Jack Adams Award, which is basically the hey, the most improved team, right? You look at the Jack Adams. Why has Bednar never won a Jack Adams? Really? Right? The closest he ever got to winning one was when he took fucking dog shit awful Colorado, worst non-expansion season in the entire league history, and then made the playoffs next year. Like he got nominated. I think he won second place, but like he's never been, he's not even in the top 5 this year. Are you kidding me? Look how injured that team is. Look at the goaltending. Colorado doesn't have a single goalie with a 900 save percentage, and they just keep winning. And so that like the Hart and the Jack Adams and like a couple of the other trophies like that really bother me because they're not hard. They're not hard statistical things, or there's gray area and a lot of media influence, and it's stupid. But I'll tell you what, if McKinnon wins and Kucherov has more points and people want to complain about it, that's why the fucking Art Ross trophy exists.
Yeah.
Right? That's for most points. Shut up and take this trophy. Right? If you're talking MVP, it's gotta be McKinnon right now.
Yeah.
Dude's nuts. Every night. It's never happened. This is the weirdest fact ever.
Didn't he?
In Colorado history, with all the star caliber players they had, like Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg and Timo Salami, he was awful that year. But like they've had like big names, Yari Curie, Jerome McGinley. They've never had a player score 4 goals in a game in their entire franchise history.
Didn't he also break a hat trick record?
No, this is what he did. Nathan McKinnon did it fucking twice in 16 games between each other. He scored 4 goals twice. And it's never been done in Colorado history. Like, the dude is fucking nuts. And he could have had another hat trick, but he gave it up to Logan O'Connor.
I saw that. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was, I mean, how can you not want that guy to win? Like, that dude is so fucking intense. He doesn't give a shit about personal goals.
Yeah.
He gives it to his teammate, boosts his teammate, and Logan O'Connor goes out the next game and scores 2 goals, and then Nathan McKinnon scores 4 goals.
Well, and I think that's why you can kind of forgive the, like, heated passion he gets into and he yells at people during practice or whatever. Because, like, I think it's not so much he wants it his way and it has to be his way. It's he wants the whole team to succeed. Because
Yeah,
like he could have taken that goal for himself, or he doesn't have to set up other players, because obviously we've seen his skill.
Yeah, well, I mean, he is a playmaker.
Yeah.
So he does make amazing passes too.
Yeah.
But like, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't need to pass that to Logan O'Connor. He's fucking Nathan McKinnon. Like, he's driving the bus on the team this year, especially with Landy out.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need to do that, but he does. And he's intense, and he wants the best out of everybody because he wants the team to be as best as they possibly can be. And he pushes players, and you need somebody on that team. You hear stories about like teams that win the Stanley Cup, and there's always somebody that's driving that, and he's driving it for the whole team right now, and he just holds them to a standard. And that's got to be stressful, I'm sure, for some of those guys in the locker room. You can tell early on in the season they had a lot of trouble. And some guys are no longer with the team, and some guys are probably on their way out either at the trade deadline or in the offseason because they just don't fit the culture.
Yeah.
But that's a culture of winning, man.
Yeah.
Nathan McKinnon is making sure that happens.
I did upgrade.
Give me more money.
Yeah, he's had a hell of a season. I enjoy watching. I mean, I usually catch the post game clips, but I really enjoy watching him play. It's very special.
He's so fast.
Yeah.
He's got like the NHL Edge thing came out. I think it was this year. It's nuts. He's got the fastest like 20 something 24 mile an hour bursts. Like he's got the like number one, and like number two is McDavid, and he's like way over triple the amount of bursts. He just fucking gives her.
I can't wait for the skills comp. That's going to be really exciting. That's another thing this year is I feel like there's just so much talent this year. Looking at the rosters and shit, it's going to be probably one of the best skills comps that they've done.
I hope so, but I mean, a lot of these guys like don't care, right? Like especially these intense dudes like Cale Makar and McKinnon. I keep going back to them because I know the team so well, but like they don't give a shit about the All-Star. They're focused on a cup.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice for them to lay it out and just see what they can do, right?
I think it might be a little bit different this year because I think they raised the pot that's going to the winner or winners. But obviously
Nathan McKinnon makes $12.6 million a year.
When you're making, 12, 10, $9 million a year, is it really worth, going? I mean, I guess it comes down to if you want to showcase how good you are. But if you're not interested in flaunting your skills, like,
but who's on an ELC on that All-Star team? That guy's gonna fucking try real hard.
Yeah. League min contract, $1 million pot.
Yeah, I mean, if I were that guy, whoever that guy is, I'd be fucking working my bag off to get some extra money. Yeah. Oh, Bedard, but he's injured.
Yeah. As soon as he got injured, Chicago just dropped.
Did they pick a replacement from Chicago to fill in for him?
I don't know who they have now.
Because, like, that guy better not be fucking, like, who the fuck could they possibly pick? That team is awful.
Oh, they won't have a representative?
That makes sense. They don't have a fucking NHL team. Yeah, Trotrek is replacing him.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I don't know. I look at this list and I think like Georgiev and Frank Vetrano out of Anaheim are the only dudes making less than $5 million. So maybe Boone Jenner, like maybe those guys will care and they'll show out because they'll want to make some money. Who's in a contract year? Maybe they'll try and show out. If you're in a contract year and you play for a shitty team, they're probably going to try and make something happen.
Yeah,
I think it'll be fun, but I don't put a lot of stock in the All-Star because I just don't think they care enough.
Yeah,
these guys are focused on winning a cup, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's one thing that I got off of Winnipeg too. It was in the middle of their winning streak, and Ehlers, who's another one member of the team who just pushes the guys to do better and is very driven. He said, he's like, We don't care about, the winning streak. We don't care if it ends. That's not what we're focused on.
Yeah. I mean, and they proved it, right? They didn't care about that no goal streak
Yeah.
that they were trying to do.
Yeah.
They went for it to try and win the game.
Yeah.
I remember my buddy who's a Jets fan, he texted me while that was happening. He's like, I hope Donis doesn't pull the goalie because I want them to I want them to win the streak. And
Yeah.
and then he texted me, he's like, stupid fucking old man and his fucking decisions. I
Yeah.
was laughing so hard, but like that just proves like the mentality. Like they don't care.
Yeah.
They're not there for records. They're there to
Mhm.
win, and they're there to try and make a run at the cup. And
Yeah.
that's what you want out of the team.
Yeah.
Your goal shouldn't be to make the playoffs. Your goal shouldn't be to win the President's Trophy. Your goal shouldn't
Mhm.
be to win individual awards. You should be working as a team. Your goal should be the Stanley Cup and nothing else.
Yes.
That's a mentality it just takes to
Mhm.
win. And you see teams do it all the time. The teams that finally make the jump, like something clicks, and they don't take anything for granted, and they take everything seriously. And so I just think those guys that are at the top of the league right now, they're not thinking about the All-Star competition.
No.
But hopefully they lay waste. It'd be cool to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think the picks have come out, so that'll be interesting to look at. Yeah.
The All-Star teams.
Yeah.
Let's look at those. I saw the McKinnon one earlier tonight, and I was like, "You have one fucking defenseman. I mean, you're playing 3-on-3, but like, my God,
Yeah.
you have one defenseman, and it's Cale Makar."
Yeah, I know the Hughes team took Hallie. That's the only one I saw.
Why can't I find this?
I saw Sportsnet was tweeting.
Oh, here we
but-
go. I got it. Okay. So we got Team Matthews. So Austin Matthews, Morgan Riley, and William Nylander. Got to keep the homies together. Mitch Marner. Makes sense. Those guys get 4. They're hosting it. Obviously, Toronto want to see their own guys, so
Yep.
sure, they get 4. Then you got Jake Ottinger, Clayton Keller, Matt Barzell, Igor Shesterkin, Philip Forsberg, Alex DeBrincat, and Vincent Trocheck. It's a pretty good lineup. Then you got Team McDavid. You got Davo, Draisaitl, Hellebuck, Pasternak. That's fucking deadly at the top. Jesus. Can you imagine if the Oilers had Hellebuck for real? And like a good defenseman? My God, they'd be unstoppable. Rasmus Dahlin, Robert Thomas, Sam Reinhart, Bobrovsky, Jenner, and Suzuki, and Hurdle. So a little bit of tapered off talent near the end. Like, why do you need Bob and Hellebuck? But okay. Team McKinnon, super biased, but I think it's probably one of the better teams as far as like super high end skill, really flashy skill.
Yes.
Because you got McKinnon, Makar, Crosby, Georgiev. Hilarious that he's in the All Stars at all, but anyway. Kaprizov, Aho, Wilson. Wilson could probably stay, in my opinion. That dude is there because everybody gets a rep. Jeremy Swayman, Konechny, Lindholm, and Bjorkstrand. That's a pretty good team. A little bit off on the bottom there. And then you got Hughes, the Hughes Bros, Pedersen, Kucherov, Demko, Connor, Kachuk, Bratt, Talbot, Besser, Miller, and Vetrano. I think the Hughes team has the best team.
That's pretty solid.
Like, who's the worst guy on that team? Really?
Brad maybe.
But Brad is so good.
Yeah, that's Miller. No, Miller's having a good season, isn't he?
Yeah, Miller's been amazing since Vancouver.
Probably, actually, no. I take it back. It's Vetrano because he's on the Ducks.
Yeah, but that dude has 22 goals.
That's the
and he plays for the Ducks.
Anyone good? Anyone good?
That's a pretty good team.
Yeah.
Like, right, Bjorkstrand's having an all right year, but that guy's in the All-Star because of injury, right? So, Tom Wilson is there because the rep had to be there. So those are the 2 knocks against Team McKinnon. Georgiev, I think, is a fucking laugh. because I just don't think he's been very good this year. Wildly inconsistent. And he just got voted in because I think they needed X amount of goaltenders.
Yeah.
So you got a couple of stinkers there on Team McKinnon. I say that they're all real good players, but guys that wouldn't have made it had other people not been injured, or a guy from each team was required to go.
I wish Bedard wasn't injured though. That would have been good to see.
That would have been awesome. Yeah, he's having a dynamite year. And McDavid's got a couple of guys that are in, just like Boone Jenner. Why the fuck is Boone Jenner there? Thomas Hurdle. Why the fuck is Thomas Hurdle there? Like, good players, but like, come on. Are they making the playoffs?
Suzuki's okay, but like he had such potential in Montreal Blues, I guess.
Yeah, I mean he's got 42 points.
Yeah.
It's close to a point per game. He's not doing too bad.
Yeah.
And he plays for a shitty team, but like, yeah, a couple guys on the fringes. And then you got like Trocheck also doing pretty good, but like, would he be there had Bedard not been injured? No.
Yeah.
The Braincat also, like, these guys are like point per game guys. The rest of the guys are high.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this team, Matthews' team, is pretty fucking stacked, dude.
Yeah. Then you got
It's pretty stacked.
You've got fucking 3 of the core 4. And you got Riley and yeah.
And you got Andre in net, who's actually having a pretty down year, and so is Shurkin. So maybe the goalie is not as good. I think he is real good. Although Jack Hughes isn't fucking playing because he's injured, right? So
yeah,
it's still a great team. I think they have the best team.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. If the NHL will allow us to fucking watch it. I don't even know how to watch it.
Yeah, I don't know. If you live in Toronto, be grateful because probably easier to watch than for the rest of us.
And in Colorado, you still can't watch games in Colorado because they have a ongoing 3-year battle with Comcast. So I wanna pick your brain a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think from a Jets fan point of view? Who do you think the Jets are gonna target, or if not a specific person or a couple of players, what positions are they gonna look to fill?
Honestly, if they can strengthen their center a little bit, get a couple more in-depth centers, I feel like the decor isn't in desperate need. I feel like there's a couple players that you can move around. Brendan Dillon next year's a UFA. Dylan DeMello's a UFA. Schmidt and Pionk still have another year on their contracts.
They need to get rid of Schmidt, man. I know he's great locker room and all that, but that's a lot of money for a dude playing in your bottom pair.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. If they could maybe add a little bit more D depth and then get some help on center, because like obviously we can't be relying solely on Scheifele.
Yeah.
And like Scheifele and Lowry, those are the 2 guys that we rely on. And when obviously we saw when Scheifele's out, the lineups are kind of just all over the place. But I think it's good because they also have a decent amount of leadership on multiple lines. You've got Lowry, you've got Ehlers. I've also seen it with Perfetti. He's taking on more. So yeah, I think honestly just maybe another good center and figure out the decor and figure out who works and who doesn't and who has potential. And because like right now I don't have too many complaints other than that.
I think the Jets need definitely. You guys have a lot of the same problem Colorado does in the forecourt, is like a better 4th line C, like a shutdown 4th line C and a second C, which are the same things Colorado needs. And I think the Jets want to add to their top 4.
Mm-hmm.
Push somebody down. Dylan, DeMello, Pionk, all good second pairing players. But you add one more, and that just gives you injury relief. And if everybody's healthy, you're on a playoff run, that just makes that team so much harder to play against. Because you start playing against some of the weaker competition. You got somebody that could be playing in a top four role, playing on your bottom pair. Like that's a pretty tall order.
Yeah. I think come trade, I think a lot of teams are gonna want to offload some assets just because of the salary cap, and a bunch of players signed big contracts this year. So obviously teams are gonna have to find room for that and shift players around, and um, so yeah, I hope they take advantage of the fucking trade deadline and tweak a few things, because it's not dire. It's a couple things here and there need to be tweaked, and then I think they've got a decent formula in place that keeps them winning games.
Any players you think particularly the Winnipeg Jets to target?
Mm, there was talk about Jacob Chikrin
Yeah,
from Ottawa,
that'd
but
be that cost a fortune, but that'd be
that
pretty
that
sweet.
would cost a fortune, but that would definitely bolster the quite a bit. But like, I don't really know who's up right now, who's willing to play in Winnipeg, because not a lot of players like Winnipeg as a
Well,
franchise to play
that's
for.
that's a good thing about the fucking trade deadline. Unless they have a no trade clause,
Hmm.
they don't have much of a choice.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you guys are looking to keep somebody long term that's an expiring deal, maybe that plays a factor.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm pretty impressed with the Jets this year. I'm happy with the way the season's going. I just hope they can carry that on throughout the rest of the season and see how far they're going in the playoffs.
Yeah. I think there's a couple players that I think that Winnipeg should target. They
Yeah.
should target Sean Monahan because
Mm,
Winnipeg isn't like a super speedy team. They're not slow by any means, but they're not driven by that speed. They're
yeah.
playing of a two-way game.
Well, you notice
I
it
thought-
against like Toronto and Edmonton. They just get outskated because those teams are so fast.
Yeah, so like Sean Monahan, I know Colorado fans, a lot of people are like, oh, that guy can't skate. We already have that problem. We already have Ryan Johansson, but might be a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Good fit there up in the Winnipeg. And then I think probably like somebody like if you could get him off of Columbus, Bulkfist, or maybe um uh Tyson Berry, maybe if you guys are looking to get somebody to run your power play by the point. He's awful defensively, but like that guy knows how to dish a puck.
Yeah.
I guess yeah, if you guys were in on Chikrin, that'd be pretty incredible.
They definitely need someone bigger on the, on the fucking D line. That year with like the years with Bufflin, we seemed to have an okay like size differential for defensemen.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at Bufflin; he was ginormous.
Yes.
And now
That dude is
now
massive.
he competitive fishes.
Yeah, those fish don't stand a chance.
Yeah, no. What about you? Any trades or anything that you think Colorado could benefit
Yeah,
from?
I mean Colorado really needs to do something about the 2C. I was skeptical about the Ryan Johansson thing coming in to the offseason. I really wanted them to go after Kevin Hayes. I think Kevin Hayes would have been a good fit. And Kevin Hayes has been having a good season for St. Louis. I think they gave up a 6th-round pick for him, and Philly retained. And so yes, Colorado got Johansson for basically nothing, but I would have liked to see Kevin Hayes. I didn't think Johansson would have fit because he fucking sucks at skating and he's lazy on the back check. And that has been the narrative this year. He's fucking lazy and he can't skate to make up for his laziness. And it just has not worked out. I think they need to move that guy. I still think that guy's a good NHL player and he would be just fine at $4 million on another team that isn't so driven by skating, but the Avs are a track meet team that they are there to outskate you. He's put up 11 goals in 49 games, and he's, roughly half a point per game. So he's not been terrible. He just doesn't fit Colorado's system. So I don't think Colorado's going to, they don't really have much of a farm to sell. They did that on their cup run. They have this year's first round pick. They have next year's first round pick. They don't have a second round pick until 2026. They'll probably trade that because Colorado is notoriously hates second round picks. They trade a lot of them. But they got a couple good prospects. If they had the right fit and could find the right center, maybe somebody with a little bit of a term, or they could get somebody to retain with some term if they had a larger contract, I think they could make that work. They got some good players. They got Oscar Olausen, hasn't really panned out for them yet, but he's still really young and he's got an NHL level shot already. And Callum Ritchie, they drafted him last year. He was kind of a mixed draft pick at the time because he played the entire season with like a shoulder injury that was supposed to get surgery. He got that surgery on the offseason and he started this season late and he's been on an absolute tear. He got named today the OHL player of the month. And funnily enough, the night McKinnon put up 5 points, he did too. So that's a guy that is highly intelligent but isn't also known like for his skating, so he doesn't really fit Colorado's current identity so well. And he's years down the road. Colorado's window is open now, so trading somebody like him might hurt, but that would be a good thing to do. They also have Guliev, who is fashions himself a Cale Makar type, who is also like labeled one of the steals of last year's draft that I think they could trade. I think that would hurt more than Richie because you look at Colorado and you just like, oh yeah, of course they get another one of those guys. They got one of the deepest Ds in the league, I think, still. And then they go out and draft this guy. They can probably afford to trade him. And they have a couple other pieces, but those are kind of like the big trading pieces they have to go to. I think there's been a lot of talk surrounding their D core. Bullet Byram has kind of been on and off again, and a lot of people have talked about trading Sam Girard because they have a wealth on the D. Like their top six is Cale Makar, Devontae's, who are two of the top 10 NHL defensemen in the entire league. They got Josh Manson, who's fitting in just fine as a number 4 D man. He's doing a good job there. And they have Girard and Byram switching places. And on their back end, they are rocking Jack Johnson and Jack Johnson, and then they have like a floating guy of whether it's going to be Girard or Byram, whoever's playing up. And their depth is pretty good. They got Sam Malinsky, who's a rookie. He's played a couple of games for the Avs this year. He's 25. He was one of the most sought free agents out of college last year. He's putting up numbers. He looked great. He looks like he can stay in the show. They got Caleb Jones, and they got McDermott. They don't want to play that guy. So they got 8 options right there. And they got Brad Hunt playing in the AHL, and he played games for them last playoffs. Not great, but in a pinch, you could do it. So there's been talk, and so maybe they might, if the right trade happens, might trade Will Byram or Sam Girard to be able to fill that need because they can fill the defense internally. So we'll see what they do. I think they need to do something, and I think they need to get a fourth line center who can win a fucking face-off. That's a big thing that they can do probably pretty cheap, like a 5th or 6th round pick, maybe even a 4th, depending on who they get. And then the biggest thing that I want them to get that I cannot believe they still haven't fucking addressed is a goddamn backup goaltender. Francis was injured at the beginning of the year. He's supposed to be gone a month, so they didn't go out and sign somebody. Well, they shut him down for the season again. This is like the second or third time this has happened. I think that dude's career is over. It's sad because you think he's great. I think he's a 1B. He won them 2 playoff rounds the year they won the cup when Kemper was injured. And they never addressed that problem. They picked up on waivers at the beginning of the season off of the Coyotes, Prosvetov, and that guy's fucking horrendous. I think he's one of the worst goalies the Avalanche have had in recent memory. And he is so bad that the team doesn't want to play him. They called up their young goalie waiting in the wings, Justus Annunen, sorry. to play games on a back and back. So they played Georgi and they had Prosvetov as the backup. And then they played a backup game. They called up Annunen and they made Prosvetov his backup and gave Alexander Georgiev a night off. So, and then they sent Annunen back to the Eagles in the AHL. So that kind of shows you how much trust the team has in him. Like, you're good to warm a bench, but we don't want to play you on a fucking back-to-back. Georgiev has the most wins in the whole league right now. Part of that is because of the scoring, that the Avs are just outscoring all their problems. But like, that dude has started 41 games for the Avalanche this season.
Yeah.
Like, so maybe he's not playing well because he's fucking playing so many games.
Yeah.
So they need to get that dude some rest, because come the playoffs, if they keep riding him like this, like, he's gonna be dead by the time the playoffs begin. So I think they need to do something about that. I think there's some good options out there, right? If they want to go out and pay a lot of money, they can get somebody good. They can go get somebody that's decently held down that job. Capo Kakinen's all right. I heard Marc-Andre Fleury was maybe something. We'll see if he's back from injury. Like, somebody that can start a couple of games for them and actually play a good backup role. But I guess we'll see. But those are the things I think the Avs need to address.
Yeah. Well, and the tandem goalie, it's important now because you don't want to overplay your starter. That's one thing I think Winnipeg's actually got down pretty well, because LB, the Emperor, he's been really good in the games he has played. So like a tandem goalie like that, or Dolmark and Swayman, whatever. I think it's important to invest in both your goalies and not just overpay for one and then have a total shit one that you can't rely on.
Yeah, I think it's more and more common, right? You look at it and it's the 1A, 1B thing is just becoming more and more the norm of the NHL. They're not riding one horse, 60 games a season anymore. And Colorado has long been on that train. You look back the last couple of years, it's Georgiev and Frankie, and then it was Kemper and Frankie, Varlamov and Grubauer. Like, so they've had good goalies and continue to do that. And I think it's just unfortunate because they would have used Frankie and that would have been great, but he's not an option to them. And they just can't keep, like, Prosvetov is not an NHL goalie, man. Like, he's just not. He's fucking horrendous. I think he let up four goals on 5 shots, or 3 goals on 4 shots in one of the games they started him, and they pulled him and put Georgiev in. And it was like for the first 4 minutes or something like that. So, like, not good, man. Not good at all. Like, he's got some wins under his belt because Colorado they have the firepower to outscore that problem. But so, yeah, personally, I'd like to see them go after Marc-Andre Fleury. I think that'd be a neat storyline with him, idolizing Patrick Waugh, and he knows what it takes to win a cup, obviously. I think that'd be a good swan song if Colorado can go win another cup, go win another one for Fleury. That'd be good. And his numbers are down, but he's decent, still decent, still a good goalie, can still steal you a game here and there. So I think that's a good target for the Avs. I think 2C, they need to go cheaper. And I think I like Henry would be a good fit for them. He's still got some offensive jam. He's an older dude. He's still really good defensively. He's putting up pretty good numbers for the Ducks. He's got 1 year left on his contract. He makes a lot of sense. The problem is he makes a lot of sense for a lot of teams. But he wouldn't be a 2C. Like, he would be that situation where you got two high-end 3Cs, or really solid 3Cs in Ross Colton and Henrique. Colton's been doing spot duty for the last couple of months because Johansson's been playing down in the lineup. And he's done an admirable job, which means if you can get another solid high 3C guy, and you get healthy and get your wingers back, like Nichushkin comes back from players' assistance, and who knows if Gabriel Landeskog, for some reason, some people think he's going to play this playoffs. That would be amazing, but like, I highly doubt it. That dude hasn't skated in a year. But if you can get that back, like, that's some fucking good wing depth, and you're not asking them to do as much heavy lifting. That Miles Wood, Ross Colton, O'Connor line has been incredible. It's probably one of the best third lines in the league. And so if you get a high-end 3C, somebody who's just competent enough to play up with Arturi Lehkonen and Val Nichushkin, like that might be good enough. So I hope they kind of go after somebody like that who can skate.
I didn't have an idea on who was up for trade, but I found a list here of like the top 25 suspected highest trades. Tanev, you mentioned, or not Tanev, Monahan, sorry. Monahan, you
Yes.
mentioned. 35 points in 49 games.
He's doing pretty good with the Canadians.
Yeah, 1.9 cap hit, so not overly worrying. On D, I mean, there's Tanev. His contract's 4.5 mil cap hit. Hannafin's up there. Chukrin's up there. Who else we got on here? Kakinen's up there. But yeah, there's a few picks. Tyson Berry's there. Pull him. 4.5 mil. He's played.
They've scratched him too in Nashville. He's not fitting in good with the way they've got that team structured. I think it's what Andrew Burnett is their head coach, so I don't think he's liking what Tyson Berry. But that dude's expiring, and they're trying to move him. So like they're probably willing to retain half if they have a retention slot left. So
Yeah.
you can probably get that guy for practically free.
I mean, as far as centers, Monahan looks like the best. Bang for your buck on this list that I've got here. Not too many centers that are suspected, I guess. You got Henrique. He makes 5.8.
Yeah, you can't have Henrique. I want Henrique.
But yeah, so I guess it'll be interesting to see if they make any big moves. If they do pick up Monahan, that would be a good addition for maybe a second line or third line. I don't know. Lowry keeps moving up and down, so
yeah, you find yourself in that same sort of thing where you have two high 3Cs, and you can play spot duty and balance their minutes a little bit. I think that's okay. There's not a lot of centers out there right now. I think that's why Vancouver was so aggressive and paid through the fucking nose, because it's Lindholm and then a bunch of third line dudes. Yeah, I don't know. Looking at just who's available as center, there's just really not any good options. I think probably see a little bit more movement in the offseason. I think, honestly, if Colorado doesn't address their 2C problem, they'll do it in the offseason, and they'll trade somebody like a Byram. I had heard somebody, because they went and got out and made that trade for what's that kid that didn't want to sign with Philly?
Oh, Gauthier.
Yeah, I think that Anaheim said because they went out and got him, that Zegras is might be available. And so there have been talks about Bowen Byram for Zegras because Bowen Byram has actually been targeted by a couple people. Philly went to Colorado and asked to trade Cutter straight up for Byram, and Colorado said no. So
yeah, I know Zegras was on the trade block there for a bit, and then he got injured, so it's kind of died down. But I am curious if they're going to move him too.
Yeah, well, I wonder, like, that one might make sense for Colorado. He does play center sometimes, and Bowen Byram was good when he's healthy, but he's had some problems of his own. So that one seems to make like a good sense hockey trade. And Anaheim has just left a fucking gaping hole by trading Drysdale for Cutter. So maybe they're trying to look back and fill in like Bo Byram.
Yeah.
Colorado could be like, hey, he's got that Stanley Cup caliber in him. He's got that fucking championship pedigree. But I don't see the Avs. I don't see a lot of people going out, because I don't think anybody's just really going to trade any good centers in this season. So I think everybody's just going to have to add at the fringes. But we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go after best buddy Crosby there. Nate McKinnon's best buddy.
Yeah.
That dude's playing insane. I cannot believe at 36 that he's got 50 points.
And yet the Penguins just not
Yeah,
it
they're
this year.
wasting.
Yep.
They're wasting it. And like Malkin's still putting up good points. Like
There's word that the Pittsburgh management is kind of cock blocking their GM from making any moves because their GM moved over from Toronto, Kyle Dubas.
yeah, Dubois. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think they want to keep their star players together to push for another cup in Crosby's era, but no.
Well, I think that was the idea, right? They
Hmm.
went out and got Carlson, and Carlson, he's putting up good points.
Mm-hmm.
But like, was that really what you guys needed, Eric Carlson? You guys had Crystal Tang,
Yeah.
and they paid through the nose for Ryan Graves, also a former Colorado Avalanche. Like, and he has not been good this year. He's not been what they paid to give him a 6-year deal, and their goaltending has been okay. Nothing to write home about. They just can't seem to win games.
Yeah, there's a lot of just okay-ish teams this year. Like, you should be
Yeah.
doing better, but you're not.
Yeah, there's a lot of mid teams. Like even like the top of the top is most of it makes a lot of sense, minus Vancouver and Winnipeg. That nobody like bet at the beginning of the season had them in the top of the top, but the most of them are like the repeat, the
Mhm.
usual suspects. But from there in the middle, it's just a bunch of weird fucking teams that you don't expect to be up there.
Yeah, I guess that kind of wraps up the first episode. This is just an introduction to what we'll be talking about more. Obviously, next time we convene, will be after the All-Star game. And yeah, we can kind of talk updates from there. When is trade deadline again?
March 5th.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely have at least one
March
more
8th.
episode before then, so we might be talking, maybe there'll be more rumors circulating. I never know what to believe because people talk shit all the time online, so I have a couple
sometimes.
sources. I have a couple sources that I follow that are pretty credible, but I don't take stock much into what people are saying online until I see it.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you see there's just too much smoke.
Yeah.
And when you see that, then that's pretty obvious things are happening. But
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'm probably going to separate these in a few parts and then upload just the full thing. So if you guys want to go watch any individual segments, you can do so on YouTube. Very nice. Oh God, my mic keeps hitting me in the face.
good thing that's not a big floppy dildo then.
No, I mean I can add that in post, but I don't think YouTube would like it very much.
Yeah, the dildo.
All right, guys, thank you for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure to hit the like button if you liked the YouTube video. Andrew's gonna hate that I say that because it bugs him every time I say it. Go follow our socials. Go follow Aim for Theo on their socials, link down below. And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.